Welcome to the Laws of Women. We are in the sefer called Otzar Dinim by Rabbi Yosef Shlita. Today's topic, a woman benching for herself or for a minor. We want to discuss two halachot. If a woman who's obligated to bless a Birkat Hamazon, she has a child who's a minor in the house who doesn't want to say Birkat Hamazon, can she fulfill their obligation for Birkat Hamazon? That's question number one we want to deal with. Question number two, what happens the other way around? The mother doesn't want to say Birkat Hamazon. Can the minor go ahead and fulfill the mother's obligation in Birkat Hamazon? So Rav Yosef Shlita in the sefer Otzar Dinim addresses these two issues. Isha shachla pat, if you have a woman who ate bread, yochola levarech Birkat Hamazon, she's able to bless Birkat Hamazon, ulehoti yedei chova, and she's able to go ahead and fulfill the obligation, midin shomea keoneh, from the laws of one hearing it as if he's answering, katan she'achal v'sava, to a minor who ate and is satiated. Now, before I do continue, let me try to explain this halacha. If you see in red, I put over here, midin shomea keoneh. What does this mean, midin shomea keoneh? There is such a halachic principle, excuse me, there is such a halachic principle that whenever someone blesses a blessing, he's able to also fulfill somebody else's obligation for that blessing through the law of when that person listens, it's as if he's saying it. That's what I'm saying over here. Midin, from the law of Shomeya, the other party listening, Ke'oneh, it's as if he's saying it. Now this halacha you can relate to where your husband or your father or somebody else above the age of 13 does kiddush on Friday night. You have one person does kiddush, everybody else in the house listens. How can everyone listen? Why aren't they saying the bracha? Very simple. The law of Shomeya Keoneh kicks in over here. By me saying the blessing of Borei Pri Gefen, it's as if you are saying the blessing of Borei Pri Gefen. Same concept by Hamotzi Lech Min Haaretz. When the Balabait, when the owner of the house takes the bread, and he says the blessing of Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz, nobody else on the table said the blessing of Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. So why are they allowed to eat? Very simple. Midin Shomeya Keoneh. From the law of whenever you listen to someone else saying the bracha and you have kavanah with him and they have kavanah with you, it's as if you are saying that blessing. So let me give you one more example. Let's say I want to say the blessing of Shahakol, and you also want to say the blessing of Shahakol. We don't necessarily, both of us, have to say the blessing of Shahakol. I can go ahead and say, look, I'm going to have you in mind, you have me in mind. Meaning, I want to fulfill your obligation for Shahakol, and you have kavanah with me that you want to fulfill your obligation with my Shahakol. So now when I say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Shahakol Niyeh B'dvaro, and you answer amen, automatically it's as if you just said the blessing of Shahakol. I'm allowed to drink and you are allowed to also drink. This is the principle called Shomeya Keoneh. So therefore Rav Yosef Shlita is telling us like this. If a woman ate bread and she's obligated to bench Birkat Hamazon, and she wants to go ahead and she wants to fulfill the obligation of a minor who ate and is satiated from the law of Shomeya Keoneh, we're going to tell you she's allowed to go ahead and say the Birkat Hamazon and fulfill the child's obligation. Now, I'll elaborate on this a little bit more. It's more important to do it like this than not to have the children do it at all. A lot of times, children, they don't know how to say Birkat Hamazon correctly. So what do we as parents do Friday night? Right? We skip the whole thing. No. Maybe you should do it as a family. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu, right? Sing it. The kids know how to sing it. They do it in school. or have the mother sing it. So therefore the children are either listening, and now they're going to know how to actually learn and read the Birkat Hamazon themselves, or eventually, Rabotai, they're going to start doing it themselves. So really you are helping them twofold. You're fulfilling the obligation in Birkat Hamazon, and at the same time you are allowing them to learn how to read and say Birkat Hamazon correctly. So therefore Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shlita is telling us that she's allowed to go ahead and fulfill the obligation of her children who are minors. Why? Since the obligation of a minor who's gonna bless Birkat Hamazon, or who's obligated in blessing Birkat Hamazon from an educational purpose, since it's only from the rabbis, ואנשים חייבות בברכת המזון מדין ספק דאורייתא, and women are obligated in blessing Birkat Hamazon. It's a Torah suffix. We have a Torah doubt. Should they do it from the Torah or should they do it from the rabbis? So therefore we're going to tell you, she's allowed to go ahead and fulfill the obligation. So the child has an obligation from the rabbis. The woman has an obligation in Birkat Hamazon from the Torah law, meaning we have a doubt if it's from the Torah law or not. So basically they are on the same level more or less. So that's why a mother is able to go ahead and fulfill her obligation in Birkat Hamazon and also take out the child's obligation in his or her Birkat Hamazon. However, the second case is not going to be so simple. What happens if it is the other way around? Now he's adding over here a very important word. Over here he's saying a woman who ate and became satiated. That's a problem. Once a woman becomes satiated, we have a very big problem. So that's what Rav Yitzchak Yosef is saying. If you have a woman who ate and became satiated, if you have a mother who ate bread and she's satiated, she's not allowed to fulfill her obligation of Birkat Hamazon by listening it from a minor who still did not reach the age of mitzvot. Even if the child ate an amount where he's satiated, basically we would say like around 56 or 58 grams, which is 2 ounces. Why are we going to tell you that a minor is not able to fulfill his mother's obligation in Birkat Hamazon? So he says, the Shem Chiv Ha'isha Birkat Hamazon Hu Mina Torah. Maybe maybe the obligation of a woman in Birkat Hamazon is from the Torah. And the child is only obligated in Birkat Hamazon from an educational purpose. So if the woman is on a Torah level and the child is on an educational level, they're not on the same level. So therefore they're not able to go ahead, meaning he's not able to go ahead and fulfill his or her mother's obligation. Ve'ein chiyuv d'Rabbanan motzi yedei chova mi shechayav min haTorah. You cannot have somebody who's obligated in something only from a rabbinical standpoint come and fulfill somebody else's obligation who's obligated from a Torah standpoint. Again, 2 separate levels altogether. So that's what Rav Yitzchak Yosef is telling us over here, that if you had a mother that is satiated after she ate bread, let's say she ate 2 ounces of bread, and the child, let me see what he said. Did he say with the child that he's also satiated? Yeah, I think he said also the child is satiated. 1 second. Yeah. Even if the child ate also to satiation, doesn't matter. If the mother is not in the mood of saying Birkat Hamazon, she has to ask either her son or her husband, who's in the age of doing mitzvot, meaning above 13, that they should fulfill her obligation in Birkat Hamazon. but she is not allowed to fulfill her obligation Birkat Hamazon with a minor. The reason being is because maybe she's on a Torah level and the son is only on an educational level. But then we did explain that a Torah level does not compare to a rabbinical level. So even if I put this child on a rabbinical level, somebody on a rabbinical level cannot fulfill somebody else's obligation who is on a Torah level. So bottom line, we're going to say that a minor is not allowed to fulfill his mother or her mother's obligation as long as she is, excuse me, as long as she is satiated and we're afraid she might be on a Torah level. Continues Rav Yitzchak Yosef and he says something even more stronger. V'kol sheken laha'omrim, and how much more so to the ones that say the chovat chinuch al ha'av v'lo al ha'ben. Another principle. Some rabbis want to learn this whole obligation of educating a child is not placed on the child himself. If I look at the child has no obligation to do mitzvot. He doesn't even fall under the umbrella of education. According to some rabbis, the education is on the father to educate the son to do mitzvot. But it's not placed on the son that he's obligated in being educational in mitzvot. So one more time. How much more so, according to the ones that say that the obligation of educating the child is on the father and not on the son. That means to say, to educate our boys is placed on the father, but it's not placed on the son. It's not placed on our children. They have no mitzvah. They have no obligation to do they have no obligation to do any mitzvah whatsoever. That's according to this opinion. If you're going to take this opinion into consideration and we're going to bring it back to the case with the mother, if now we're going to say he doesn't even fall under educational purposes where he has to do mitzvot, then how in the world is he going to be able to go ahead and fulfill his mother's obligation in Birkat Hamazon? So that's what Rav Yitzchak Yosef Shluta concludes, and he says, if a mother wants to go ahead and fulfill her child's Birkat Hamazon, no problem. If a minor wants to fulfill her mother or his mother's obligation Birkat Hamazon, that we're not going to allow you to do. So Rabotai, review. A woman who ate bread and is now full, she must say Birkat Hamazon. She cannot fulfill her obligation by only listening to a child say it. Why not? Why can't she listen to fulfill her obligation through a child? Because maybe her obligation is from the Torah. Because remember, we had a suffix d'oraita. We have a doubt if her obligation is from the Torah or is her obligation from the rabbis. Since we have the doubt, we're not going to allow the child to go ahead and fulfill the mother's obligation. But a child's obligation is only from the rabbis for chinuch, right? Like we explained. When it comes to a child's obligation, it's on a rabbinical level, educational. And someone who's only obligated rabbinically cannot exempt someone who's obligated from the Torah. So therefore, a child is not able to fulfill the mother's obligation. Even stronger reason, some say that the mitzvah of chinuch is on the father, not really on the child. So if so, the child himself is not obligated at all, which makes it even clearer that he cannot exempt an adult woman. So Rabotai, this is the whole halacha for today. We asked two questions from the beginning and we answered it with two separate answers. The first question was, can a mother fulfill her son or daughter's obligation in Birkat Hamazon? The answer is yes. Can a minor fulfill his or her mother's obligation in Birkat Hamazon? The answer is no. Have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen.